Welcome to Spartan Life Radio. I'm your host, Cheryl Wilkerson, on a wonderful Sunday afternoon. Excited about today's show. Many of you have heard or read, his name was everywhere. His story was everywhere. The young man out of Landstown High School who was born without legs and only one finger on his right hand. And he just recently won the state championship for Class 6 in the 106-pound category. He's going to join us. He and his father, Adonis Lattimore, they're going to join us later in the show. But to get things started, we say welcome to Tina Roberts of Ordinary Women. Miss Tina, how are you today?
I am doing absolutely fine, Cheryl. Excited.
That's a good thing. Tina Roberts, Ordinary Women. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on and what we're going to talk about and all of that good stuff, give us some background on yourself. Where were you born? How did you end up here in Norfolk? Were you born here?
No, ma'am. I was not born here. I'm actually from South Carolina. As a matter of fact, a small town called Hampton, South Carolina, and it's just like Hampton, Virginia.
Are you serious?
Yes, ma'am. Born and raised in Hampton, South Carolina. Went to Wade Hampton High School. Moved on to finish my studies in Atlanta. Military life was what brought me here to Virginia.
Okay.
And in the midst of that, working with the federal government. And that's kind of how the whole introduction of the nonprofit started.
Okay.
Was partnered with D. Kelly. We started the No Ordinary Woman Women Empowerment brand back in 2015. And just to fast forward a little bit, out of the No Ordinary Woman Women Empowerment brand of just the retail side, that's where the No Ordinary Woman 2.0 Foundation came, and that's why I'm actually here today.
Okay, I'm going to take you back a little bit more because I have been wanting to one weekend go to South Carolina and explore. Where would you tell me to go?
I would tell you to go to Charleston.
You would?
Oh, yes. Charleston and Columbia, they have great, what we would call different residential areas where you can go and visit and just different, a variety, the lifestyle, the people there, the food is divine. You would really enjoy going to Charleston, South Carolina.
And put Mother Emanuel on that list as well?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. I'm going to take you up on that recommendation. So you came here to Hampton Roads. How long have you been here?
Oh, gosh, I've been in Hampton Roads area over 20 years.
Oh, okay. Wonderful,
yes.
Wonderful one.
Yes.
Well established. And so were you in the military here in Hampton Roads?
No, ma'am. My husband husband was in the Navy.
Okay.
And so that's how we came here. We've actually been all over. We've been in San Antonio, Texas. We've been in California. We've been in Keflavik, Iceland. We've been in Korea. We've been a number of places with the military, but we have settled here in Virginia, so this is home for us.
I hear Iceland is very expensive.
Iceland is very expensive, but it is the most beautiful
Yes.
place. It's the land of fire and ice. And it is a really beautiful place. Even if you just went there to, go and visit, it's a beautiful place. So
I have a nephew, and he goes on the internet, Miss Tina, and he finds the cheapest ticket he can find anywhere, and he'll just go. And so that's how he ended up there. And he told me about it. His latest adventure was Peru. But anyway, getting back to you. So what did you think when you were coming to Hampton Roads? You were like, oh, we got to move again? Or you're like, oh, new adventure, Hampton Roads?
Right. I thought it was great. I was excited about coming to Hampton Roads. I always would hear about the 7 cities, and I've always liked Virginia because I had an aunt that lived here.
Oh, okay.
And we would come sometimes during the summer, so I was a little bit familiar with the Virginia Beach area. So we were very excited as a family to actually get stationed here.
And when you came here, were you working? Did you have the beginnings in the back of your brain somewhere about a nonprofit? What was your thought process, and what were you doing when you first came?
So when I first came here, I was already working for the exchange system. So it is, when I say the exchange system, it is the NEX. It's the Naval Supply Systems Command. We headquarter all of the military installations across the world, pretty much. And I worked for the headquarters location. So when I transferred from Iceland, I already had my job here. So
nice.
I went right into the headquarters building, and actually, I did not know that I would, own a nonprofit at that time. But several of the women that's actually on the board of what we call Now 2.0, which is No Ordinary Woman 2.0, several of them worked for the exchange system along with myself. We all worked in the IT department. And that's pretty much how the nonprofit came aboard, along with myself and another founder.
So I'm imagining maybe around lunchtime you ladies started talking, or walking out to the parking lot after a day's work. You came up with this. How did this creation come to be?
Okay, well, not exactly. Like I said, it was myself and Dee Kelly. We were looking at just doing an event. We had a neighbor, and she was having what you would call the Diva Bazaar. And in the Diva Bazaar, she asked us, she said, oh, well, you guys can just, maybe put some items together and, just be a vendor. And we looked at each other, and, we were coming back and forth from Korea at the time. So we had a lot of resources where we could get items to sell at her Diva Bazaar. So moving forward, we had the Diva Bazaar, and then I had a few of the ladies from work that was coming to assist us at the Diva Bazaar. Well, lo and behold, during the time of the event, we had several ladies that came up to us, and they began to share their stories. So what we thought was one thing actually turned into something else.
What kind of stories were they sharing?
They were still sharing stories of, because we had items where, how sometimes you can have replica purses, and you have all the beautiful scarves. We had bling T-shirts. We had everything that you can think of. So a lot of ladies was more of, gosh, I would love to be able to afford some of this stuff and not break the bank. And then once they began sharing the stories, it was more along the lines of domestic violence, cancer survivors. It turned what we thought was one thing, God ordained to be something else. So when we thought we were just going to go to this event, be a vendor, and sell some items, it turned into women sharing their voices. And it was just stories that needed to be shared. And it touched us. And from there, the nonprofit grew.
Did you know how to address those women that day when they were coming to you with those different but all serious issues? You weren't professionals in those fields then. So how did you know how to address them?
You know what? We were not professionals, but as they began to share, and of course you comfort people when they're sharing their stories of triumphant and whatever disadvantage that they were going through at the time, we pulled it from the gut. And I think a lot of times, because I am from South Carolina, and I have that whole grassroots that builds in me from my mom, my grandma, you comfort people, you listen to people, you let them talk. And then you share what you can to help them.
Wonderful.
And so a lot of those ladies left there with items, we pretty much gave them to them. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, you started off to do one thing, and then it just turned into something else. And you helping. It turned into us helping different women.
After that day, I'm sure you and the other ladies had some sort of debriefing about what had happened, right?
We did. And
what
we
happened?
Sat around and we kind of looked at each other, like almost in disbelief, like, what just happened here? And from there, the nonprofit was birthed.
At that debriefing that evening or that next week or whenever you all met again, that's when it was born?
Yeah, actually that evening when we were talking about it, we, had a few phone calls in between, and we said, well, maybe we should just start a nonprofit where we just help disadvantaged women across the area. And a little bit after that, we met with an attorney to get paperwork drawn up, and it just kind of went from there.
If you are just joining us, I am speaking to Tina Roberts, Ordinary Woman Now 2.0. She's telling us about her nonprofit, and in just a little while, we're going to get into how you can get involved and you can help. And so I'm just so happy to hear that you went about it the right way when you said you immediately went to the lawyer and got things done the proper way. I think that's important that you said that.
Oh, absolutely. Because if you're not familiar with something, you got to have the guidance, the knowledge, to go with your skill set. Because all of us were business women. We were working for the federal government for over 20 years. Mm-hmm. So we knew pretty well. We knew what we needed to do in order to make this a successful nonprofit. Our thing was we wanted to inspire and impact versus impress. So that's why we went to the attorney to make sure we were, getting this thing set up correctly so that we could set out to do what we wanted to do and help other women.
What is your mission?
Oh, okay. Our mission, well, we are a Sisterhood of Empowered Women, and what we do is we are here to influence, inspire, invest, and enhance the lives of ordinary women.
That's very, very powerful, because so many people say, well, so-and-so is, she's a PhD, or she's that, or she's this, and they just think of themselves as just. And I just don't like that, because you know what? I always say, if you're just a custodian, you know what? A building can't be open unless it's clean, or I'm just a secretary or something. I just don't like those when people say that. So when you are talking about ordinary women, I think that's impactful, and I think that's powerful. What are your colors?
Our colors are, for this organization, it's the fuchsia pink and it's the blue. And actually, we actually utilize the colors on our great initiative that we're going to talk about here.
Okay. And let's talk about that initiative now, please. 4 C's.
Yes, ma'am. Well, Now 2.0 Foundation is actually in partnership with Hot 91. Mm-hmm. And we are currently presenting the 4 C's. Cheryl, I can't even tell you how excited we are to be talking about chaps, caps, covers, and candy. And it is exactly what it says.
Okay, break it down. No, I said go ahead, break it down.
Okay, so it's a charity event to collect items for the cancer infusion centers in the Hampton Roads area. We have 2 survivors on our board, because it's a total of 7 women that came together, through shared life experiences. So the 2 survivors on our board, one dealt with breast cancer and one had colon cancer. Mm-hmm. So they shared their needs during the time of them going through their different treatments of chemotherapy.
Okay.
So when you think about it and you say chaps, caps, covers, and candy, one of them was explaining to us how when she was in and out the hospital or was getting her treatments, her lips were always dry. She's looking for some type of ointment, some type of even, like a Vaseline, something. Because, anytime when we go to the hospital, the dry air in the hospital rooms, it dries you out. Mm-hmm. So that's where we came up with the chap. So that's the chapstick. The caps, any type of head covering, a scarf, a bonnet, a beanie, anything that you can find to cover your head because you're always cold. Mm-hmm. They explained to us about the covers. They were, in need of extra blankets. They were always very cold. Anytime you're getting treatments, they're very, very cold. And then here lastly is the candy. One of the survivors, she explained how candy, a Jolly Rancher, was her best friend. Because sometimes when you're going through treatment, your body does do different things. So the saliva would not produce a lot of times, when you begin to have like what we would call dry mouth. Mm-hmm. So they would suck on a hard piece of candy, a mint, a Jolly Rancher, whatever they could find. So that's how we kind of put it together and called it the 4 C's: chaps, caps, covers, and candy. But unbeknownst to us, we did not know it would take off the way that it has. Now, even though the collection period is from March 1st to April 4th, we have begun to already receive a lot of donations.
Wonderful. Okay.
Yes, a lot of places have already chimed in because we kind of started talking about it early on, actually back maybe the end of January. And it's just kind of grown from there. We've been in touch with the director of the oncology centers in Hampton Roads. She's excited. She has connected us with the foundation for Bon Secours. And she explained to us how the blankets are a major need because they were having to go in the pocket to purchase additional blankets for a lot of the people that was going through therapy. So all of what we're collecting, head coverings, socks, blankets, chapsticks, and a variety of hard candies, it is a tremendous need for the Hampton Roads area for patients going through. And, a lot of times patients, you're there by yourself. So everybody doesn't have somebody to come with them.
That's true.
To get their treatments and stuff. So it's the simple things in life that we tend to forget. Who would think a piece of candy would make somebody so happy when they're going through a treatment?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you haven't been there, you don't know. Or if you don't have somebody close, like you said, that you are helping to care for or giving support to, you just don't know.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
How can the listening audience get involved? How they're like thinking right now, I can see the wheels turning, Miss Tina. They're like, I'm going to donate to this cause. This is a great cause. What is their next step?
Okay, so the next step is, anybody can always donate to us. We'll take monetary donations on our website. But the drop-off locations for the chaps, caps, covers, and candies, we have 6 drop-off locations. One of the first locations is Lita's Hair Palace, and she's at 4970 Cleveland Street in Virginia Beach. One of our board members, she's been going there getting her hair did there for many years. So that's Lita's Hair Palace. The next one is Blessed Roots Beauty Supply, and like many of us know Miss Nikki Montgomery. She owns the Black-owned beauty supply store here in the Hampton Roads area. She has even gone a step further. She's actually saying as people come into the store and you put something into that donation box, she's going to give you a discount.
Wait a minute. I didn't even know there was a Black-owned beauty supply. Where is it?
Okay, Miss Nikki's Blessed Roots Beauty Supply, it's 7639 Granby Street, and that's in Norfolk, Virginia.
Wonderful.
23505, and that's Miss Nikki Montgomery. She's done a live. She's got the flyer on her Facebook page, and it's called Blessed Roots Beauty Supply.
That is beautiful.
A lot of her clients are already chiming in, and we're going to give lip balm and, hats and beanies, everything. So we are excited. Miss Nikki is excited. The next drop-off is HP Music and Arts, and they're in Chesapeake Square Mall. This is Bishop Hunter and Apostle LaQuinla Hunter. They are such great people. I actually have a whole initiative with Miss Hunter in South Carolina for the I Am Now Before You Call Me Sis book.
Oh, my goodness.
We got a lot going on.
Yes, you do.
Yes, we have a lot going on. So, and they're over at the Chesapeake Square Mall, and that's 4200 Portsmouth Boulevard, Chesapeake, Virginia. The next location is the Glam Lair. That is Miss Tanisha Venegas. She has been doing my hair for many years, and she's at 6002 High Street West. That's Portsmouth, Virginia, 23703. Our next location is We Care Salon Cafe. Everyone knows Mrs. Hewitt. She has several entities in the Hampton Roads area, and that particular location is at 4676 Princess Anne Road, Suite 270, and that's in Virginia Beach, 23462.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, we have Positive Vibes, and it's the African Art Bookstore off Indian River, 6220 Indian River Road, and that's in Virginia Beach, 23464, and that's Brother Brett.
Brother Brett has been there a long time, giving back to the community. We love him.
Long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am. And I came in contact with Brother Brett by way of one of our mentors, Miss Veronica McMillan, and she runs the micro nonprofit network in the Hampton Roads area. She's huge with the nonprofit. So anybody who has a nonprofit, if you haven't connected with Veronica McMillan, you don't know what you're missing.
Okay.
She wraps her arms around all of the grassroots organizations in the Hampton Roads area, and she has been instrumental in our foundation.
Oh, my goodness. This is very, very exciting. Chaps, caps, covers, and candy. Ordinary Women Now 2.0. I have Tina Roberts on the line with me. She's explaining all about these initiatives and what's going on. And it seems like you are determined. You are bound and determined to help some folks out here.
Yes, we are. We're very excited. We're already getting confirmations from a lot of the big box retailers. They're getting us blankets. We got confirmation early this morning. Miss Deborah Hendricks of BMW Manufacturing out of, she's a part of the new model team out of Greer, South Carolina. Their items are on the way. When I tell you this initiative has grown arms and legs, everybody is excited. Everybody wants to help. We've gotten confirmation from Chesapeake Democratic Women.
Oh, good.
Service That's Reliable, Transportation Business, Rugged Evolution, and some of the local churches. So, yes, ma'am, this is going to be great for the Hampton Roads area, just to get these items out to all of the cancer infusion centers in the Hampton Roads area. We are really excited.
How will you go about distribution?
Well, actually, we have the collection place, and it's going to be in Norfolk. So we're going to circle back around to the date because we didn't want to do it at the time where patients were there. So the director of the oncology center, we're meeting with her prior to the actual ending of April 4th. And so we'll circle back around and run that on social media websites to say how the distribution will be done. But the oncology centers, they're hoping to have it big. We're hoping to have Hot 91 there. They're going to get their marketing team involved. She wants to do a press release. Oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be great when we get ready to donate all these items to them.
Out of the chaps, caps, covers, and candy, what would you say is the item that is needed the most? I know it's probably kind of hard to say, but if you think about it, which one is really, really the most needed? Maybe the covers, maybe? I don't know.
It's the covers. While speaking with the director, she mentioned the covers. Okay. Yeah, so the coverage is a great need because, like she said, a lot of times, patients that, even for ones that have to stay overnight or go back over to the hospital, and we understand hospitals do have resources, but at the same time, the ones that's coming to the infusion centers, they've gotten to the place where, they were short on resources. And so they just think that this is the best thing that we're doing and that they will be the recipient of this donation drive.
Hampton Roads, we need you to come out, especially with those covers. Just imagine if it were you and if you had some disease or some illness and you know what, you had to go in the hospital. Hospitals are cold. They have to be. And Just think about how much you would appreciate some chapstick, dry lips, some covers, warm your head. Caps to warm your heads or covers to warm your body or some candy to make your mouth feel better. Just imagine if it were you or your loved one, and that should motivate you to please contact Miss Tina. Miss Tina, how do they get in contact with you?
Okay, our social media handles, I'll give you the website. Our website is www.V is in Victor, so it's www.vanoordinarywoman.com. And then we are on Facebook as Team No Ordinary Woman. And on IG is at Team_No Ordinary Woman. Well, so those are our social media handles. And also our email is NOWMN2.0@mail.com.
Once again, tell us how long you are accepting donations, please.
The collection period is starting on March 1st through April 4th.
April 4th.
But we will, if people are still willing to donate past April 4th, we will still accept those items.
I was going to say, I think this is something you're going to be doing year round. You probably already have been doing it year round, really seriously in your own way.
It's grown. Yes, it's grown. I mean, for Bon Secours Foundation, wanting to pick it up or be a part of it, I believe this is something we will do yearly. Mm-hmm. I can see it being utilized in a lot of medical facilities. So we are very excited just to have come up with it. I thought it was catchy, chaps, caps, covers, and candy. And a lot of times people refer to cancer as the big C. So we say, you know what, well, let's give it a positive spin and call it the 4C.
I like that. I like that. Yeah, I like that. That's very good. I can see you all over this nation. I can see you nationwide. I can see that, Miss Tina. I can see it's happening. It's going to happen.
Yes, ma'am. We've been getting a great feedback on it. All of our foundation board members. And you know what? I need to call their names because I'm sure
I was going to say, before we get out of here, we're going to hear those names.
Yes, ma'am. So, of course, it's myself. We have Joycelyn Austin, Monique Andrews, Zanetta Devane, Inger Kelly, Cynthia Womack, and Francine Grimstead. And it's the 7 of us. We worked together for many years through the exchange system at headquarters, and we took something that was probably nothing and we turned it into everything. So we are just very grateful. We are a sisterhood of empowered women.
I am very thankful to you. I don't have anybody, thankfully, in my life going through any of that right now, but I'm thankful for you, for what you are doing. You don't know these people, and you're reaching out and helping them, and I'm grateful to you for doing that because you don't have to do it. You don't have to do it point blank, but for you to take your time and your resources and your skill and your knowledge and to reach out and do this, as my daughter tells me sometimes, God is pleased. And so that's what I'm going to leave you with this today. Miss Tina, God is pleased.
Thank you. Thank you. We gained a deeper sense of gratitude while doing this, so I really appreciate that.
And that's another thing. You're right about that. Anybody who's feeling down in the dumps or feeling, this is a hard time for people, stressful time, go out and do something for somebody else, and all of that gloom and doom will go away. While you're doing something for somebody else, it will make you feel much better.
Absolutely. Be consistent and intentional, and then your vision becomes clear.
Ms. Tina, I thank you so very much. Don't be a stranger. Hopefully we will meet up soon, okay?
Yes, ma'am, we will. Thank you so much for having me represent our organization, No Ordinary Woman 2.0 Foundation out of Suffolk, Virginia.
That's Miss Tina Roberts. I'm Cheryl Wilkerson at Spartan Life Radio. We'll be back. Like I said, this young man won the state championship in wrestling with no legs, one arm. What? Don't you tell me something you can't do. I don't want to hear it. I just don't want to hear it. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Spartan Life Radio. I'm your host, Cheryl Wilkerson. Yeah, I told you at the beginning of the show, this whole show is just a blockbuster. I could have used some tissues in the first interview, but in the second interview, I probably will need those tissues as well. We welcome to the show Cheryl Lattimore as well as Adonis Lattimore. Gentlemen, welcome to Spartan Life Radio. We are so glad that you could join us today. So first, I'm going to talk to the daddy, Mr. Gerald.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about this amazing child of yours. I think everywhere I went in the last couple of weeks, whether it was TV, radio, newspaper, internet, I saw this amazing story about your youngest child, how he was born without legs and only one finger on his right arm. This young man went out and won the Class 6 106-pound weight class championship when it comes to state wrestling. He did that.
Yes, ma'am, he did. He did it. He did do it.
So Adonis is the youngest of four?
Yes, he is. Yep, he's the youngest of four.
Can you take us through when he was born, what the doctors told you? Because I think they're famous for telling you limitations. Now, in their defense, they may not understand how great we are. I get that. But can you tell us when he was born, what you were told?
So when he was initially born, there was no diagnosis. The doctors weren't able to tell us a whole lot initially. Just a lot of, I won't say confusion, but just somewhat chaotic. Because it wasn't expected. The ultrasounds didn't pick up on anything, any deformities or anything of that nature. So there wasn't anything that we were aware of. There was nothing that the doctor was aware of. So one, it was, everybody was in shock and in surprise. And from there, it was a matter of just test, trying to make diagnosis and trying to make determinations on what his condition was.
So the doctors were kind of scrambling.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. Okay. And they were giving you information, or they were giving you misinformation, or they just weren't giving you any information at all?
Yeah, I wouldn't say misinformation. It was just not knowing. No one kind of could define what it was, or what the condition was, or what had actually happened during the process. And so it that went on for maybe a week and a half or so.
Are you serious? That long?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, my goodness.
He was born at Norfolk Lee Centera, and he was immediately transported over to CHKD, where they continue to run tests and, just kind of go through that process. And we ended up meeting with his physician, Dr. Flatine, and, she was probably the one person that gave us the closest diagnosis, which is amniotic band. If that's not exactly his condition, but that would be the closest diagnosis, is amniotic band. And so what an amniotic band is, where the umbilical cord wraps around the limbs, whether it be the legs, the arms, fingers, toes, things of that nature, and the circulation and growth of those limbs are basically cut off.
Oh, okay. But they could not tell this. So, okay. So ultrasounds didn't show that?
No ultrasounds picked up on anything. We were unaware of anything.
Okay, so I'm just assuming ultrasounds have improved since then. There was probably, because, you think about it, 20 years ago or 16 years ago, 18 years ago, things have progressed in science. They've gotten better.
Correct.
Okay, so she comes out with the final diagnosis. What did she tell you?
So that was the amniotic band. Because here's the thing. So just kind of, I won't say backtracking a little bit, but so Adonis was born initially with a total of, on his right hand, a total of 2 digits, and on his no right leg, but there was what they call digits. So there was a digit on his right hip, and then on his left leg, which is a partial leg, there was a total of 2 digits. But the second digits weren't functional. They were basically dead limbs, and so the other thing is he had to go into surgery to have those removed.
Okay.
Over time.
Okay. All right. That makes sense in my brain. I got you. Okay.
So we were in a space where, just kind of looking at what the road ahead of life was, it just made sense, one, spiritually, but then also just practically, that it wasn't going to, knowing the diagnosis of his condition wasn't going to change his condition.
I agree.
And so,
gotcha.
Yeah. We came to, the realization that it didn't matter whether they were able to put a definition or define the circumstance as far as, his physical condition and what the world saw. This is something that we were going to have to navigate through and have the challenges of, the day in and day out of, raising him. So we just came to the point where we said it doesn't matter, and so we'll go with amniotic band. But going forward, we don't need to have any further tests ran, any other diagnosis, completed.
Correct.
Or anything of that nature. He's, and I think I've said this, several times, but, I thought was that, if we're made wonderfully in God's image and God makes no mistakes, and he's, wonderfully made in his image, regardless of, how the world sees him or other people, view him, he is made in God's image.
I love the name Adonis. Who came up with that name?
So I won't take credit for it. I would just say this: his name has purpose and it has meaning. It's from the African proverb, and it means God's blessing. And so each one of our kids, we wanted to reassure that their name had meaning. Mm-hmm. And so that was, we had already picked the name out. And, a lot of times, people say, oh, well, the definition, Greek God, so forth and so on, handsome God. But no, an African proverb is that he's God's blessing.
You say you got to take it back a little further than the Greeks, right? That's right.
Yeah. And we're here long before them. So,
if you don't mind, can you give us the first name of the siblings? Because I love Adonis.
So our oldest, his name is Jalen, and we have a set of, he's 27, and then our middle girls, both twins, they're a set of twins, Ashanti and Sabrina.
I have heard parents of children that are have something different going on. I've heard them say that they always told their child, you can do anything. 2 questions for you. Did you always tell Adonis he could do anything? And did his brothers and sisters give him a hard way to go?
Well, yes. I was going to say, as far as the brothers and sisters, I wouldn't say a hard way to go. He's the baby. And so they always have looked out for him. But they've also picked on him and,
right.
do what older siblings do. And so he hasn't had it easy in that regards, but they're definitely his protectors.
Wonderful. And you have told him that he can do anything?
Yes. I was going to say, and not just him, that's all of our kids. We have believed, preached, practiced that the only limitations that you have are the limitations that you set for yourself. And so that is just kind of the philosophy, the Lattimore philosophy. If I just being frank, that's just the philosophy of our household, is that anything that you want to achieve and you want to obtain, we're going to support you. You have our blessing, and we're going to back you. but it's not going to be easy. There's going to be bumps and challenges along the way. The question is, are you prepared, for what it is that you asked for?
I'm so glad you said it's not going to be easy, because I don't know where in society we get this thing that things are supposed to be easy. Life is supposed to be easy. My schooling is supposed to be easy. My getting what I want out of life is supposed to be easy. I don't know where that came from, but that's not real life.
Correct.
At all.
Correct.
When it's time for Adonis to say, I want to wrestle, he comes in the house, Mom, Dad, I'm going to wrestle. Is anybody surprised?
Well, so it wasn't necessarily a matter of him coming home and saying he wanted to wrestle. What happened was there was in elementary school, there was a flyer, a club flyer that was sent home, and he had given it to Mom, and they had a discussion about it, and I'd come home from work later on that day, and Adonis and I have always had like a horse playing, like we always wrestle, we always play for it, since he was probably 2 years old. And so it came down to what is it that he can actually do as far as, competition-wise, as far as sports-wise, that doesn't allow him to have any sort of assistance, any sort of, adaptive equipment, and where, if his effort is going to, make the determination on whether he succeeds or not.
Okay.
And so that was, one of those things where it was like, okay, the process of elimination. He can't play football. He can't play basketball, without some sort of assistance. He can't, play baseball. So let's think about what it is. And I wanted him to be a part of a team. I wanted him to know what it felt like to compete, to be competitive, but also, to have, teammates, to know what it felt like to win or lose, and just, go through that whole process.
Okay, so we came up with wrestling.
Correct.
You came up with it together?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we ended up going to practice, to the first practice, and, the rest is history. I mean, we started out.
No, Mr. Gerald, no. You've got to tell me the reaction of people when you walked in that gym, you and Mr. Adonis walked in that gym, and we're going to wrestle. You got to give me that reaction.
So, to be honest with you, it was, well, let me say this first. The wrestling community is as far as sports and as far as just the community as a whole, is unlike any other. The level of support, the camaraderie, just the way that you're embraced. Anybody, the rule of thumb is anybody that steps out on the mat is a champion, win or lose, because of all the hard work and effort that's put in. So if, going back to the first day that we came into the room, Coach Chris Crawford, he's actually the middle school coach at Locksburg now. He's the first coach. We owe a lot of credit to him. He was actually our first Pee Wee coach, but he was also the first coach that believed. He was the first coach that spoke it into fruition that Adonis could become a state champ. And from day one, he took to Adonis. Also, another coach. He was actually a student at Ocean Lakes High School at the time. That's the club that we initially started out with, Ocean Lakes Pee Wee.
Okay.
Dalton Henderson, which is, he's at head coach at Colonial Forge now. He wrestled at VMI, and he took Adonis under his wing. And, he worked with Adonis individually. So, as far as the coaching staff and as far as the support, it's always been there. Now, as far as the kids and the parents, that's a different, a different conversation. But yeah, we've always had that support from the coaching staff, and that's any club that we've ever wrestled with, any coach that we've been a part of, part of this process. They've always supported us and given us 100%.
Did you have to have a conversation with Adonis before you went to that first meeting about some people and their reactions?
Not about wrestling. I mean, so here's the thing. I try to be as practical and realistic with my children as possible. And I don't say my children, but just in general. I'm kind of a straight shooter. So, we've had the conversations long before then that, this journey wasn't going to be easy. One, if I'm just being frank, you're a black man in this world.
That's right.
And then you have the challenges of, your physical, challenges that people see. And so it's not going to be easy, and it is not going to be an easy road at the end of the day. So we've always had those hard conversations and just being realistic about it, and just just explaining to him that you've got to bring your A game at all times.
At all times. Okay, all right. So he was set then, right?
Yeah. I was going to say no. There was when we stepped out on the mat. Now, there was challenges, but that part of it, as far as what was to come. That was already laid out. That understanding was already there.
And fast forward from what I read, high school, Adonis is wrestling, and he made up his mind as a freshman.
Actually, as an eighth grader.
Eighth grader.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
He was going to do this, and he was going to go all the way, and he was going to be a champ.
Yes, ma'am.
Had some bumps along the way. I can imagine some things came up, and of course, COVID came up.
Correct.
How did you handle COVID?
COVID was tough. COVID was hard because there's always a backstory to what everybody else sees, but realistically, his junior year was actually his year that he was favored to win the state title.
He was favored.
Yeah, he was favored to win the state title. It was, I won't say, at the end of the day, you still have to go out and compete. But he was the favorite coming out of this region, out of this area, out of the Hampton Roads area to win the state title. And we were a day, so a kid in the room ended up catching COVID. And we had to quarantine for 10 days. Well, that 10-day window put us a day away from being able to, come out of the quarantine and wrestle at the regional tournament. You don't wrestle at regionals, you can't qualify for states.
Oh, and so, okay.
Yeah, we ended up missing because it was a snowstorm, and it was like God was working in our favor because there was some things that kept pushing the regional tournament back, but ultimately we ended up missing it by one day, and so that killed our chances of being able to wrestle at the regional tournament, and so our seniors that we had it was a total of 3 kids on that team that year that had a good shot at winning regionals. The head coach's son, Adonis, and then one other kid that's going on to wrestle in college as well. Because I'm one of the assistant coaches with Landstown on the wrestling team as well. So it was I won't say devastating because for us we knew we had one more year, but it was hard to know that all these kids had put in the work and prepared, and to not be able to see it through.
Thank goodness he had another year, right?
Correct.
Right. So Adonis is there with you, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
May I speak to him, please?
Yes, ma'am. Here you go.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello, Adonis. How are you?
Good.
Congratulations to you. You're one of my heroes. How about that?
Thank you.
I am just so excited about you, and I just think that you are so very special that young people can look at you. They're young people walking around, and they're thinking about all the things they can't do. And then there's a picture of you that I can show them. And Adonis, when I show them the picture of you, there's nothing they can say. They can't give me another excuse about why they can't do something. You are absolutely awesome.
Thank you.
Tell me what that last match was like, the match that was going to decide who was the state champion. I'm probably not saying it right, but you know what I mean.
So the state finals match was a little surreal. I had seen plenty of state finals matches plenty of times, but I'd never been the one actually wrestling in it. So to be the one participating in the ceremony and actually going to wrestle in it was pretty surreal.
How so? Were you nervous? You have worked so long and so hard for this, and this probably is a dumb question, but were you nervous when you started? That match, when you had to start that match, were you nervous or did you feel confident? How did you feel when they're ringing the bell or telling you to start the match?
So to be honest, I felt more nervous about the actual ceremony because I had to do a ceremony before the finals.
Okay.
And the actual match, I knew because the actual match was just going to be my final match of my high school season. I knew I just needed to wrestle my match to win it.
You know what? I probably could not have watched this. I was in your family. I was there. I probably would have been too nervous to watch, right? But was there a point where you're like, oh, I got this?
After I got secured a takedown in the second period and went up 2-1, that's when I was 99% sure I had it.
So you can tell, you can feel it.
Yes.
Do you actually, Adonis, do you feel, is it more that you feel you've got it, or is it a feeling that you can tell when your opponent is perhaps giving up, or your opponent doesn't have the skill to beat you? Which is it?
I felt more like I had it and that my strategy was going to work, because I had a strategy going into the match, a little bit of a strategy, but he never gave up in the finals. I knew that once I took the lead, he was going to keep coming at me, so I just needed to stay in good position and wait until the time ran out.
How has your life been after, what was that, February 19th? How has your life been, Adonis?
It's been a lot more busy than it was.
Right. Is that with media people calling you?
Media people, people on Instagram, coaches.
What is your Instagram handle?
The real Adonis Lat. Just the capital.
And can you tell me, what are your future plans? You have nailed this. I'm sure you're good in school with the grades. What are your future plans?
I plan to wrestle in college and work to become an All-American.
All-American. Okay. I have an acquaintance, and her son goes to Michigan. From what I understand, I think they have a pretty good wrestling program there. That's all I know about wrestling. I'm sorry. But you know what? I am going to, when we finish this interview, I promise you this, Adonis, I am going to look you up on Instagram, and I am going to follow you, and I'm going to follow your success. And I'm probably going to be calling on you some more, because I'm going to need you to kick some students in the butt when they tell me something they can't do. You are my no excuses guy. How about that?
Thank you.
Now,
an honor.
I just think you are wonderful. I think your whole family is wonderful, and I just wanted you to address the audience today. I'm so glad you did. Your dad is still there?
Yes.
Let me speak to him, please. I am speaking with Cheryl Lattimore and Adonis Lattimore. Adonis recently won the state championship. He was born with no legs and only one finger on his right arm, and he is inspiring to all. Dad, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
So I told him he is now going to be my person that when I hear a student say something they can't do, I'm going to call on Adonis, because he is truly outstanding. I would just want to thank you and your family. I think the way that you have handled this whole situation with your son and everything, I think it's a lesson for other families. And I take my hat off. I congratulate you for it, because it's truly outstanding. I don't know if you got some kind of book on parenting that a whole lot of other parents didn't get or something. But it seems as though you've done it. You've done a good job. So, do you have any thoughts about him going away to college to wrestle?
Going away. I mean, this is what me and my wife have said. As far as, well, let me speak for myself. I was going to say, Mom is always saying something different, but I am of the mindset that whatever he wants to do, whatever he's comfortable with, however far he wants to go or near, I'm okay with it. Naturally we would like for him to be closer, but in the same vein, we raise our kids and we raise them, we instill values in them, morals and things of that nature that hopefully they carry out into the world. And so, there's always that fear. Of what that looks like, and how the world is going to, treat your kids, and how they're going to handle the world, when the world doesn't treat them the way that they're accustomed to being treated. But I'm just a believer that he's going to be okay. And so him going away to wrestle, I'm okay with that. Him going away to college, I mean, he's the last one. He's a baby. Definitely going to miss him. Not being there every day. It's going to take some, getting used to. But I'm looking forward to what the future holds for him.
I did not ask him, but what do you think he would like to study?
He is wanting to major in computer science, video game design.
Oh, wow. Okay. We'll take it. You're laughing at me, Mr. Charles. What do you say to parents out there that are thinking about putting their children in any type of sports program in the public school system or even in a rec league? What advice do you have for them?
So for me, I would just say two things. One, being a coach, and then two, being a parent, being dad, that you can't do both. In all reality, you can't do both. You can only do one or the other, and that's not to say that you can't be a coach and be a parent, but your kids need you to be one or the other. And so that's probably the one lesson that I've learned throughout this process. And Adonis has taught me that he needs me to be dad. And it's different for each kid, and it's different for each parent. But he's needed me to be dad to go through this journey, especially on the back end of it. And so,
what's the conflict if you're trying to do both?
Coach can critique. Mm-hmm. Coach can also uplift. But when you face those rocky roads and those challenges, your kid needs somebody to talk to. And if everything is coach,
yeah,
and they can't come to you as dad or mom or it can potentially put a strain on the relationship. Because
I understand. Yeah,
your mom or dad, they're constantly hearing your voice. You're constantly critiquing whether you are or you aren't. And especially in teenagers' eyes, they always, you're always, down on them or criticizing them.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, there has to be a balance between the two.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, and as far as public, competing in rec league, AAU or just public school sports, just be supportive. I mean, that would be the main thing. Be supportive and encourage, whether good or bad. Just believe in encouraging them, and just it's not always about wins and losses. If I were to say it's never about wins and losses, I would be lying. At some point, the competitive aspect of wanting to win, we all want to win.
Sure.
But in the same vein, the question that you have to ask yourself is, what's the lesson?
What's the lesson? Okay, what's the lesson? Yeah. When you are saying be supportive, I think it's so important that parents show up to their children's events.
Correct.
And I think it's important for the parents to show up at the events and act like parents.
Correct.
Even when things aren't going the way the student athlete wants them to go or the parent wants them to go, I think you are always modeling for your child. And I think in the last couple of years, parents have kind of gotten a little off base with this. But I think we need to get back to that, and you probably could address that better than I.
Well, definitely. I was going to say, and this goes back to why I say, you can't be both, because I'll just use, our situation as an example. I've always, for me, it hasn't been these past 3 to 4 years. It hasn't been just me being dad. It's also me being coach, and the young men and women on our team. You don't necessarily think about it until something arises, or a conversation is brought up, or a kid asks you for something, or brings something to your attention. But you are the example that they, that they're following.
Yes.
You set the example.
Yes.
And so when a kid sees you act out, or not, they pick
Correct.
up on that, and that. For us, that was one of the things one of the challenges that we had this year. If you notice in the video, I wasn't actually in the corner, and that was intentional. Coach Sandel and Coach Branch were in the corner because Adonis and I had a conversation earlier that summer where we had agreed. He told me that he didn't want me in his corner, and doing individual tournaments. And you know, it stung a little bit, but in the same vein, when he explained it to me, you know, I like I said, I feel like, you know, we've raised him to be able to express himself and tell us how he felt. And you know, he told me that he didn't want me in the corner because I'm too emotional, you know, during certain situations.
That would be me. That would be me. Yes.
Correct. And so, you know, I had to honor that. I mean, like I said, it didn't sit right with me at first. But as I thought about it, what difference does it, you know, the question I had to ask myself, what difference does it make whether I'm in the actual corner or not? Because we've had some other situations where, again, he's helped me understand that it's not necessarily whether I'm in the corner, it's my presence, like you said, where I was running late for a tournament. I wasn't there. The tournament was getting ready to start, and he called me his freshman year at the tournament, and you know, I was kind of lackadaisical, like, hey, I'll be there, so forth and so on, and I just heard I just heard something in his voice that made me realize that my presence means everything to him.
Cheryl Lattimore, I am so proud of you and your wife, your entire family. Tell Adonis I am super proud of him. I am thankful that you all took out time to address the audience today, and I am just putting in the universe and the atmosphere that only great things are going to follow, and it's just going to be awesome for your family from here on out.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate you having us and taking the time out to talk to us. So thank you.
It was my pleasure. And look, anytime you need, you know, an audience or whatever, give me a call. We're here for you. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Best wishes to Adonis again. Okay?
All right. Likewise.
All right. There you have it, you all. Another Spartan Life Radio. Wasn't that great? I mean, we talked to Tina Roberts. Don't forget the 4 C's, chaps, caps, covers, and candy, trying to help people that are undergoing cancer treatments. And also Cheryl Lattimore and Adonis Lattimore. Adonis winning that state championship in wrestling with no legs and 1 finger on his right hand. We are some great people. So you all go out and have a great Sunday afternoon. Cheryl Wilkerson, so thankful that you let me do this every Sunday. We will talk again soon. Take care and behold the green and gold.